The federal government now offering help to farmers affected by China's ban on Canadian canola. Joining us this morning with more is Brian Ennis from the Canola Council of Canada. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We know the Chinese government blocked Canadian shipments of canola at the beginning of March. They claimed the product was contaminated with pests. It's widely believed that this is a political response to the arrests of McEwen. So how has this ban affected our canola farmers?
Well, it's been really challenging. We've seen prices fall a lot, and there's been a lot of uncertainty created for farmers. And that's really tough at this time of the year. They're about to go into the field and plant this year's crop, and they're not sure what they're going to get for it when they harvest it this fall.
Yeah, $1 billion trade relationship suddenly stalled. The government yesterday saying they will now more than double the amount of money farmers can borrow from a federal loan program. The maximum loan limit will rise from $400,000 to $1 million. And the interest-free portion for canola producers goes up from $100,000 to $500,000. Is this support enough?
Well, it's really important right now as producers face unprecedented uncertainty. It's a way to help them get through this time. We have to remember that producers are going to the field and putting in roughly around $400,000 into this year's crop, and they need to pay all of those bills, whether it's the local accountant or whether it's the equipment shop or all of the seed and other fertilizer that they put with their crop. So this money is really important to help producers weather the storm. It's not going to solve the problem, and that's why we really need to focus on resolving our seed exports to China.
Well, it does help with the cash flow for certain because they're putting the investment into the ground now before we get, we're seeing these beautiful fields of golden canola that doesn't come till summer. If there's no market for them to sell to, that's the problem. And we don't have an ambassador to China since John McCallum's departure in January. There is a delegation we learned yesterday that's heading to South Korea and Japan in June. But will trade relationships there, if they do come to fruition, make up what we've lost in trade with China?
China is a huge market in the world. They take a lot of the oil seeds that are produced, so it's really hard to replace a market of that size. But we're very confident that other Asian customers who appreciate the quality of Canadian canola, whether it's Japan or South Korea, or we're looking to places like Europe and Pakistan and Bangladesh, there are opportunities for us to sell more canola to those markets now that China has shut its doors. It's going to be difficult for us. China's been a very good customer of Canadian canola, and that's why it's important that we get this market back. It's been 2 months now since our canola seed hasn't gone to China. As you say, it's an issue that doesn't seem to be based on science, and we really need to get to the bottom of it and hold China to account for the rules that we have in trade.
Brian, what happens? It's a short time period before we head to harvest, right? It's a matter of months. So what happens if we don't have any trade relationships in place by the important time of harvest? What happens to the crop?
Well, China takes roughly around 40% of our canola, so they're a really important market for us. We understand that we can send some canola to other markets, and our goal is to try and get the most value for that. So for farmers, what they're looking at is having a lot of canola sit on their farms right now and looking for markets that we can send it to. So we're hopeful that we can find new markets for our canola, markets that bring value from other countries back here to Canada, so that we can support our farmers and support the whole industry and the impact that they have. There's about 250,000 Canadians that depend on the canola industry for their jobs. And so it's important we can regain this market and manage through this time of uncertainty.
Brian, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.